Welcome to On the Chain. This is Jeff. What is going on? What a great morning it is so far. Looking forward to having the conversation today because today we are going to talk about because XRP. That's why, because XRP, the race to control digital money from cryptocurrency to the central bank digital currencies of the Fed and central banks all over the world. What's going on here? But I do want to hone in and focus on some of the developments here with Ripple and XRP. Why? Because it is so significant, so vital to the entire crypto ecosystem. So that's what we're going to get into today. And I hope you guys are ready. I'm ready. And that means we're getting ready to kick this thing off. So let's go.
Welcome to On the Chain.
Hey, before we get started, make sure you guys go out, grab yourself some strong, dark, rich espresso. Make sure that you're grinding the beans down, and you want to make sure some of them have a little bit of oil to them. Some of them are a little bit drier, but you want that aroma to kind of permeate your entire house. You want the aroma of your espresso to be so strong that when your neighbors come to your front door, it's kind of it's drafting outside of the front door, and you open it up and you're like, oh my God, what's going on in here? What are you guys doing in your house? What kind of coffee is brewing? Because we want some of that coffee. We want some of that espresso. Want to give a quick shout out to Sooner in SWFL, that's Southwest Florida. What is going on? So appreciate your support. And it has been a while. It's been a while. I think I missed last Saturday. I was in a workshop, and that was a good thing. It was a good workshop. So won't get into the details of it, but anyhow, Cafe Bustelo. There you go. A little bit of Cafe Bustelo. If you can go, I highly recommend go on and get this Segfredo. Segfredo is just, it's amazing. Is today a coffee show or is it a crypto show? That's what people are wondering when they come on. The first couple minutes, you got to talk about espresso. Otherwise, all right. No, today what I want to get into, and I find this interesting because we're going to dig into a number of different topics today, all kind of percolating around the Ripple case, the SEC case against Ripple, and really some of the insidious nature of what's going on right now from a financial perspective, from a crypto perspective. We're going to touch a little bit on the fact that this administration is now pushing for a report, a bank report on every single transaction, deposit, withdrawal of $600 or more. Now, that's a complete overreach. Now, can cryptocurrencies be a salvation from the overreach of these zealous Marxist ideologues? That's what we need to dig into and talk about today. Doesn't matter what side of the political spectrum you come from, doesn't matter what country you live in, because this is all relevant to everybody. It impacts and affects everybody. So that's exactly what we're going to go into. So some of the things I want to review, some of the things that Mark Cuban said. We're going to get into some of the things that the Federal Reserve has been pushing. Christine Lagarde from the European Central Bank. What is she talking about? What are lawmakers proposing on crypto as a fundraiser for their out of control spending, their $3.5 trillion spending? Where are they going to get the money from? Guess what? They want to get it from you. They want to take it from your crypto stockpile. So we're going to talk about that a little bit. We're going to talk about some of the subterfuge that's going on at the Treasury Department. There's so much to cover. There's so many things to dig into. But at the basis of all of this, what concerns all of us the most right now is cryptocurrency. And in particular, because we're going to talk about because XRP, we want to know how all of this can impact XRP, Bitcoin, Ethereum, whatever your choice is, you just plug it in. We're going to use XRP as the pivot point. XRP is probably one of the most relevant pivot points today, mainly because of the SEC case against Ripple. Soon, it's going to be every other cryptocurrency. Considering the fact that we've covered already for the past week and a half action by the SEC against Coinbase. We know that the SEC took action against Library. Now the SEC wants to take action and state governments want to take action against Celsius. One by one, they want to go after the biggest, the most recognizable names in this space, and they want to target them. They can't target Bitcoin because there isn't one entity for them to go after specifically. But when they look at the crypto space, they say, Coinbase, you're public. You're in our crosshairs. Ripple, you're trying to take on Swift. And by the way, you're using this amazing digital asset and ledger technology. We're coming after you. Now, Celsius, oh, you're paying your holders interest. Banks are paying 0%. Coinbase wants to roll out their solution, and the SEC went after them and said that's a security. Now they're going after Celsius, the states of Texas and New Jersey. Out of control, completely out of control. So you look at Texas, wants to be a place, an environment to where it is attracting innovation. Now taking action against Celsius is the wrong way of doing things. New Jersey, expect it from New Jersey. Don't expect it from Texas. So we need to look at every aspect of everything that's happening right now. A couple of shows ago, someone asked, what can I do? I'm sitting in a small town over in Sweden. How can I impact and help this space? And the answer is so clear, right? You keep showing up here. You can come to On the Chain. The next time you bring a friend, you educate your friend. You tell them about the cryptocurrency space. You try to explain to them what decentralization means. Try to explain to them what free market capitalism is. Try to explain to them that socialism isn't the answer. And little by little, you start eroding their message. And you start attracting people over, because if you're investing in cryptocurrency and you want to build ongoing economic benefit for yourself and your family, then you exist in the free market capitalist society. If you as a free market capitalist care and are passionate about your community, guess what you do? You donate to your community. You take money out of your pocket and you contribute it to the organizations that you feel that are going to do right. Now, when you have money and you have those abilities, you can do amazing good things for your community. And I'm looking at what's happening right now in this space as you have so many voices that are becoming outspoken against the cryptocurrency space. And the voices are all the same. They all belong overall to the same ideology. It doesn't matter what country they're in. They're trying to crush the opportunity of the individual. It's the individual that builds wealth. And so if you think about how you educate yourself and you educate all those who are around you on what it means, on the significance of what the digital asset space or what cryptocurrency has created. And we're just in the beginning stages of it. We're about 10 years in, 11 years in, and we're seeing people experience rewards like they've never experienced before in all parts of the world. Whether it's what's happening down in El Salvador, and yes, the government in El Salvador is rolling out Bitcoin as a legitimate currency. Who are those that are protesting against it? Are those that are protesting against it, do they truly, are they so passionate about the regional fiat currency that they're willing to besmirch the digital asset space without truly understanding it? What narrative? Who's backing them financially to do that? You know, it's amazing, right? So Ripple, in their case against the SEC and John Deaton's case supporting the XRP community, is the pinnacle, is the light, is the beacon for people all around the world that are passionate and are supporting the development of cryptocurrency. Now, what amazes me is that we don't have, man, is that Peru Invest? What is up? So what amazes me, where are the other communities? Where are the other communities? Where, those that are, in the Bitcoin community, the Ethereum community, all the other digital asset communities, where are they to galvanize behind the XRP community? What has happened to them? What's happened to the digital asset space to really promote and understand the dynamics of this? Now, as a contrarian, if you want to look at the other side of it, and listener crypto, you're bringing up a good point. I'm looking at this and you said, hey, I don't know, seems very globalist to me, XRP. Banks never serve people, they serve themselves. Now, XRP isn't banks. The XRP are basically the technology that banks can flow through, utilizing the XRP ledger, utilizing RippleNet. So it's not XRP that is the bad guy. That's like singling out the US dollar and saying the US dollar is bad because Bernie Madoff scammed people. So you can't draw that equal comparison. However, as a contrarian to listener crypto's point, the one concern that I have on a massive scale, and obviously this is overcome through the decentralized structure, right, is the fact that right now you're seeing a government overreach in the US where they're trying to push a narrative where they want banks to report a transaction for every $600 deposited or withdrawn. What business is it of the bank or the government if I take out $500 out of my bank account, my money out of my bank account, to go spend it on something? Now, as they have this massive push towards central bank digital currencies, the narrative is that they want to track every bit of your movement. They want to watch everything that you do. They want to make sure they tax everything that you do. Okay, people are subjected to tax. At some point, there's a tipping point where too much is too much. That's why there are a lot of proponents for the fair tax or the flat tax. I know countries all over the world tax at different rates: corporate tax, personal tax, income tax, sales tax, VAT tax, real estate tax, gas tax, water tax, utilities. You're taxed on the utilities. You're taxed on everything. So when is too much? And then how does this become relevant? One of the reasons this becomes relevant, the reason why there's so much pushback from the brick and mortars, is that they realize that if you put everything into the ledger system, it works two ways. Yes, if you had an overreaching government, like if you have the centralized digital yuan and the overreaching zealous government, the zealots over in China, then you know that they're going to control the ebb and flow of how you spend your money. That's what they want. However, it works both ways. You put everything into the ledger. Government expenditures, government incomes through taxation. You now hold everybody accountable. It becomes decentralized accountability without all the fat. You hold the IRS or whatever tax institute all over the world accountable because it becomes on the ledger that's transparent. You know exactly what's happening on both sides. The other side of it, voting. You start putting voting into the blockchain, into the ledger structure. Now, all of a sudden, one person, one vote, you die. Your vote is automatically deleted and erased from the voting polls. No more dead people. No more paper ballots. No more cheating. It goes away. They're terrified of the inevitability of what this innovation means on all sides. So that's just the beginning. So now we go back to this SEC case and we see what the SEC is doing against Ripple. We see the leadership within the SEC and we say, what's going on with this guy? Senator Kennedy was questioning him the other day and he says, and we played the clip, but he basically said, look, in relation to all these big institutions, do you think you're their daddy? To Gary Gensler, that was Senator Kennedy. Do you think you're their daddy? Who asks a question like that? Why? What would be the impetus of Senator Kennedy asking Gary Gensler, do you think you are their daddy? Why? Because he is dictating his opinion and his philosophies and his ideologies onto business. A complete overreach of government. So now you look at it, and what did Gary Gensler says? No, I'm not their daddy. Senator Kennedy, at that point, you're like, it's out of the bag. Gary Gensler, your response, he was terrified. You see it in his eyes. He's like, how am I going to respond to this? He caught me red-handed. So crazy stuff. Right? Crazy stuff. So now we get into these deep conversations about Ripple, about XRP, about the crypto space. And the commentary really goes into whether or not this case is going to be settled. Are they going to settle? All this stuff going on outside, the outside influence, outside of cryptocurrency, that we're going to dig into some of the things I talked about because it's important. Forget about the fact, for all those outside the US, you might not have seen this news, but forget about the fact that this administration had the FAA file against or pass a temporary restraint from flying drones over the border between Mexico and Texas. There's thousands and thousands of people that have infiltrated the southern border from Mexico into Texas. They're all hiding under a bridge. Thousands of people. The media has been hovering drones over there to report it. This administration pushed the FAA to make it illegal to fly drones over that bridge to bring complete transparency to the people. Why is cryptocurrency and the blockchain critical? We're witnessing why. We're witnessing the importance and significance of full transparency within your government bodies. And the blockchain, it starts at the smallest level. We're looking at this overreach by the SEC that is trying to stifle innovation. Even though they come out when questioned, Gary Gensler says, I'm in favor of innovation. I'm just not in favor of your innovation. How about that? That's what he said. So we get to this Ripple case. And this Ripple case is so significant. It's not just some lowly case off to the side that the SEC decided they're going to gang up on Ripple. Why? Because we already saw they're going after Coinbase. But Stuart Alderati and Brad Garlinghouse, they all came out and they said, we're fighting this case all the way to the end. This case is symbolic and represents the entire cryptocurrency space. It's not just about Ripple. It's not just about XRP. But if we just look at this case in a vacuum, if we just look at our investments in a vacuum, if we just look at the technology in a vacuum, and we don't understand the dynamics of those that are trying to destroy the innovation externally, or limit the innovation, or push the innovation from the shores of the United States, then we're sleeping. We're not paying attention, and we need to pay attention. This resonates to every country. They're shutting down 60 or 65 exchanges over in South Korea. Now, many of those exchanges could be corrupted. They could be scams. I don't know, but they're shutting them down. We're seeing the normalization, though, and the flow of cryptocurrency seeping into the financial institution space. Cryptocurrency has a lot of backers, has many backers at super high levels, and it's growing exponentially. You're seeing the pushback. You're seeing the resistance. You're seeing Mark Cuban come out and tell Coinbase, Brian Armstrong, you need to fight back. You can't just sit back and take it. You have to fight the SEC. Ripple is fighting the SEC. Coinbase is fighting the SEC. Now I go back to the Kik case, KIK, the company out of Canada. They were raising funds for other companies to fight back against the SEC. At that point, the SEC wasn't overbearing. At that point, there was an opportunity to try to work with the SEC. Maybe. Put it out there. Put it in the spotlight. They ended up settling that case, or there was a judgment against Kik over their kin token. They paid $5 million fine. They said at one point they were selling as security. And then nothing. Right? It just went into the ecosystem. Now, if you want the same kind of, the SEC case against Ripple kind of just evaporates into the ecosystem like the Kik case did, the KIK case, when the SEC went after them, they pay a fine, they keep operating. There was zero clarity provided for retail investors. Zero, nothing, nada, nothing. No clarity. Nobody knew what to do. There were no precedents set. There was no new test derived from the Kik case. Just evaporated into the ecosystem. Ripple has an opportunity to do what's right for themselves because they believe they're on the right side, and for the cryptocurrency space at large. And that's what's happening. That's the significance of it. Want to give a quick shout out to my dad for popping in here early morning. Papa Huddle, what is going on? My dad showing up early morning to tune in. So I'm going to go through a few of these tweets. I'm going to start with Mr. B, XRP. Now, Chip and I have a friendly wager with Mr. B over a steak dinner on settlement or no settlement. Now, Mr. B is going to double down on the fact that he believes that the SEC is going to settle. And in his tweet from a couple days ago, he said, the SEC versus Ripple case smells worse every day. The problem for the SEC now is even if they settle, which I believe they will, the black cloud of possible conspiracy, corruption, and or insider trading will not go away. You can't stick this back in the box. Now, I'm going to keep fighting for the side that says there won't be a settlement. And we had to really define settlement. There has to be a clear-cut decision. There has to be. Otherwise, it just fades into the ecosystem. See, there's Mr. B. Had a feeling you were out there listening somewhere in the ecosystem. There he is. I had to bring this one up. So we'll see what happens. So we haven't picked the steakhouse yet, but soon we will. So as we go through some of the tweets and in response to Mr. B, you have Crypto Bird Dog. Settlement saved the defendant all admission of guilt wrongdoing. SEC's wrongdoing will just fade away. Business as usual. Digital Asset Culture said the XRP community, especially big bag holders, are also in conflict of interest with the SEC because some of the influencers have lots of XRP. Thus, they don't want to recognize the fact. So being realistic and objective is difficult. Geo, unfortunately, the judge in this case doesn't have the final say. It's going to be ugly, in my opinion. So it's interesting. It's interesting. And there's some others I'm going to cover here. But being that Mr. B is here, which is awesome, settlement or SEC drops the case. They can't afford to lose. There could be a drop in the case. But if there's a drop in the case, there still needs to be some sort of an outcome. I think if Ripple refuses to settle, they'll have to drop. That I agree with. That the SEC is getting to a point where it's either they have to fight it or they're going to drop it. I don't believe that the SEC is going to settle. I also don't believe that what we're seeing, we're going to see Ripple settle. There's so much at stake, but we'll see. We'll see how the outcome is, which is awesome. So for us to be able to discuss and have some fun along the way of all these brutal, critical moments. So Charles Gasparino is with the FBN over there. He came out and said, breaking, Ripple's legal team tell Fox Business they have no plans to settle with the SEC over lawsuit on XRP. They're confident they can show Gary Gensler in pursuing the case is picking winners and losers in the crypto business to the detriment of innovation story developing. This was yesterday. So, to all these points, and I'm on the side of what they're talking about in this tweet. I will concur with this and concur with Mr. B's other part of his opinion that the SEC could potentially drop the case. But in dropping the case, they have to then, it's an admission that they're 100% wrong. But in dropping the case, there's still no clarity. There's still no outcome. You could then try to judge and say, well, due to the fact they dropped the case, then there's recognition that XRP is not a security. However, by dropping the case, there's still no clarity. So Mr. B says the SEC views a settlement a win to keep their perfect record. The wrench for them is if Ripple won't, but I think they likely will. But I don't know that the SEC will. The SEC loses cases. They do lose cases. They have so much invested here, and we can see how they've been fighting all along. They've been fighting it incorrectly. The fact they've singled out individuals, meaning XRP investors, and have undermined XRP investors. They've been so passionate and vocal against. At this point, I find it difficult for the SEC to acknowledge a defeat by dropping the case. I think they're going to have to fight it all the way, because what happens if you look in previous cases that they've lost, they might put it up on some back page of their website and they never talk about it again, but they have lost cases. And now you've got Coinbase, and now you're going to have Celsius. You've got some major power players that are entering the space against the SEC. They've stepped in it. I truly believe that they've overstepped and they don't know what they've stepped in. They've opened a hornet's nest. It's kind of like the Senate, when they tried to pass the infrastructure bill, and all of a sudden their phones were ringing off the hook. Thousands and thousands and thousands of people, tens of thousands, calling them every day saying, what the hell are you doing with cryptocurrency by at the last minute throwing it into the infrastructure bill? I think there's so much to it. So you get Maverick says, would love your take. He's asking Jeremy Hogan here. Does this mean the case gets dragged out until next year or worse? This definitely doesn't feel like good news for XRP during a bull run. Legal teams never say they want to settle. It's a sign of weakness. Yes. Yeah. Could you imagine, though, if they came out and said, yeah, we're thinking about settling. Yeah, we want to settle. We think it's a good idea. And then they go into the courtroom to try to fight the case. That would be detrimental to their case. So I do see that. Mr. XRB, they save face if they drop the case by saying we're doing a safe harbor as now that would be interesting. Now that could be interesting. They drop the case and then they acknowledge the safe harbor, which allows innovation to develop over a period of time with kind of like a freebie time limit to where they get everything on board to where it's not a security, it is a security, but then they can develop and then it's not a security. They have a time frame. But right now, safe harbor's been introduced 2 or 3 times as they've reassessed, and it's just fallen on deaf ears. There's only 4 commissioners at the SEC in the chair. Why aren't they talking about it? Why is it getting no traction? I would like to know that. It makes no sense. You have 2 in favor on the chair and 2 against. And that's it. And Gary Gensler, maybe he would be a 3rd against. Maybe he's against the safe harbor. But some of the things that he's been doing outside of the exact reason. So I'm looking at, if we just look at a vacuum of digital currency, then we can get lost in the narrative. But as we come back and we look at what the SEC is doing with corporations in general, then we look and say, Senator Kennedy is asking, again, Gary Gensler, Gary, in relation to all these corporations, you think you're their daddy? Now, he didn't ask it about cryptocurrency because, Gary, are you Ripple's daddy? Are you Coinbase's daddy? Are you Celsius's daddy? Are you able to point your finger and be very opinionated and try to influence the narrative of how the SEC is projecting or reflecting or handling these cases based on personal opinion? Does that make any sense whatsoever? So Daddy Gary, right. And it's just like the whole idea is it's getting into this Twilight Zone moment where we're in this alternate universe where they've moved from logic to emotion. And I've talked about this before. So the SEC under Gary Gensler is thinking emotionally about things. So they're injecting their emotion into their cases. They're injecting their emotions into the corporate space. They're injecting their emotion into the free market economy. And people are responding emotionally. So you have to remove the emotion out of it and just go straight in based on dollars and cents, spreadsheet, numbers. That's all that matters. We're talking about money. We're talking about gain. We're talking about asset classes. We're not talking about, I feel like the cryptocurrency space is, it's used for nefarious purposes. I'm not going to back this up with any logic, but that's just my feeling. And, emotionally, I feel a little bit distraught over this whole thing. And I just feel like, we have to get a little bit more aggressive with these people in the space because that's how I feel. And this is the insanity, of how they're treating all of this stuff. It's just it makes no sense anymore. Jim D. One token to rule them all. That's it. Exactly. Chip, why do you act like it is the pertinent statement? I don't know what that's relating to. What pertinent statement? All right. So Tony Moore said, I haven't read on the Celsius enforcement. First I heard of it. Texas, New Jersey, there's a couple others. I didn't dig in deep into it, but they're looking at it from a perspective that the loans, some of the products that are being offered by Celsius, which is the lending aspect, they're looking at it negatively as an overreach. And the fact that, again, there's going to be a lot of pushback from the brick and mortars, as we've seen with Christine Lagarde from the European Central Bank coming out aggressively. We've seen it across the board. But the reason why they want to project this narrative, because banks are paying you 0.01% interest, and a group like Celsius or Coinbase or others are able to take your asset, right? Your digital asset that you're putting on their platform, and they're paying you interest. You're benefiting retail investors, individuals. I don't care if you have $50, $100, or $1 million, you're making passive income. They see that as emotionally speaking, the other side that wants to silence this innovation, this decentralized mechanism of helping people make money. They want to silence it. They want to crush it. This is why it's so critical to me that this Ripple case goes all the way. It has to go all the way. Settlement doesn't get us to where we want to go. It doesn't happen. It has to go all the way. There's just so much to this, so let's take another step over into another brilliant tweet here from somebody much smarter and more well versed on the legal, from a legal sense than I am, and that is James Filan. So let's bring this up. James posted something important here a couple days ago. You guys might have seen it. XRP community, SEC Gov, Ripple, XRP, right? You have the XRP community under John Deaton filing suit against the SEC on behalf of the XRP community, right? But James Filan from Filan Law saying Ripple files motion to seal exhibits regarding motion to compel answers to interrogatories identifying the theory of how the Howey test applies to transactions in XRP over the last 8 years. Now, people are saying, why is Ripple now asking for these exhibits to be sealed? Dictator know-it-all. Hold up. Why would Ripple not want us to see this? John Deaton, Attorney Jeremy, you most definitely want everyone to see this. Now, who's James here? He's a defense lawyer, former federal prosecutor. Obviously, nothing he says is legal. He's not your attorney. You got to do your own research. He's a former federal prosecutor. I think he knows some stuff. John Deaton knows some stuff. I know Attorney Jeremy knows some stuff. Dictator know-it-all says, now we want 3 attorneys to give an opinion on this statement. I would love to see how the other 2 respond to that as well. But Ticket to the Moon hits it out of the park to prevent competitors from gaining an advantage. So there are certain things, and now we open it up and we look at this letter that was written, that was put out there. Now, as this case progresses, the SEC against Ripple, there is going to be a point where there's information that is going to be presented or could be presented to defend Ripple, XRP, that is way too sensitive. And as you dig into it, all you have to do is read, right? You just have to read through this. So these exhibits, Exhibit B and C, are discovery materials filed with a court in connection with discovery-related disputes. We get in. In addition, hang on. Let's see. I wish I highlighted it, but all right. In addition, neither of these documents is relevant, much less material, to the merits of the SEC's letter response, which concerns the SEC's response to defendant interrogatories. Accordingly, there's no presumptive public access to these documents. And even if there were, the public's interest in them would be minimal. A presumption in favor of public access, although there is a presumption favor in reaching its decisions above the court, did not need to reference or otherwise rely on sealed exhibits or redacted portions. Okay, now we go down. Here we go, right here. So there is also a strong interest. See if we can highlight this. I don't think I can highlight it. Nope. There is also a strong interest in maintaining the confidentiality of the narrowly tailored excerpts that Ripple proposes to seal. These excerpts, now again, it just narrow, just brief excerpt, just something, right? Not like the SEC trying to do all sorts of and find all sorts of mechanisms and loopholes and all sorts of things to overcome. But here, these excerpts contain competitively sensitive business information regarding Ripple's contracts and work orders with third-party customers, as well as non-public memoranda concerning the SEC's lack of digital asset guidance, allowing sealing a party's competitively sensitive business information. And they quoted some cases here. In addition, the excerpts reference the identities of third-party customers. This information is not relevant to the performance of the judicial function or useful in the judicial process. Again, quoting additional cases, and courts routinely recognize that such information is properly sealable. Again, referencing more cases here. Then you go through permitting redactions of clients' identities because of clients' privacy interests outweigh the presumption of access, as the clients' identities have no bearing on the case. Again, quoting and referencing other cases, finding that the public interest in the names of the entities and individuals is low and thus permitting redactions. So there's a lot going on here. The limited non-public and competitively sensitive information that Ripple proposes to redact in Exhibit B and C should thus remain sealed, particularly because it is irrelevant to the SEC's letter. Indeed, to the extent the SEC even references the exhibits, the SEC does not reference the information Ripple seeks to seal. Clear, cut, simple. It's very easy to understand, and that's it, right? And then they presented, some of these, some of the exhibits that we're not seeing here. So anyhow, and here you have the SEC. So it's so clear. It's so obvious. What was going on there. I'm glad James. James brought that out. I'm glad that he shared it with us so we could, dig in and dissect it a little bit. I think that, it's kind of a vital piece of information, and there's some commentary, and so Lionel, I know Lionel, but Lionel, all you had to do was just read the thing. So you could have read it. Now, does Ripple not want us to see it? Obviously, based on them filing it, I don't think they do. So, XRP Army News says, thanks, James. You're welcome. James, you're awesome. Appreciate you putting it out there. Charles Gasparino, again, right here. Ripple will win litigation with the SEC. A brief excerpt. And so this is crazy. Critical, not crazy, but it is crazy that we keep going over it. The SEC has requested a safe harbor from the XRP community researchers. The SEC should show us back pay for the XRP profits we missed. Look at these points, right? So think about that, the fact that the SEC is supposed to be there to protect retail investors. And think about the space, how it grew over the past 9 months. And XRP was moving in concert with the rest of the space. Moving in concert. Maybe it would be at $2. Maybe it'd be $5. Maybe it'd be $10. Maybe it'd be $1. I don't know where it would be. All I know is that it was impacted based on the emotional response to what was happening. Sensitive info. Who's to stop the SEC from handing over that information to the competition? That's a good point. It's a good point, man. Maybe they'll do it. I don't know. There's a lot of irregularities, let's say. I think Brian Armstrong said it the best when he came out and said there's something sketchy going on at the SEC. Something sketchy. Mr. B, with 55 billion XRP in escrow and the potential jump in price with a settlement that did include clarity, Ripple can afford to write a huge check and win at the same time with ODL in full effect. The settlement, to put a final on this, my opinion, the settlement would have to include complete clarity that the XRP digital asset, like some of the commentary that we heard on Ethereum may have been a security at its onset and is no longer, and is therefore they have to pay a X whatever settlement due to whatever that breach was originally, and it ended. And moving forward, it is recognized by the SEC that XRP is no longer a security, and therefore other digital assets that fit in the model are also therefore no longer securities. That would be a settlement. If that isn't, then what's going to happen is that the next case, Coinbase, SEC v. Coinbase, they're going to say, hey, guess what? We start all over again. And your interest-bearing account is now a security. And there's no clarity. The SEC really has no jurisdiction, because the one thing that the SEC has been trying to do from the onset, which is why it's so critical to understand the dynamics, the ebb and the flow of what's happening politically, economically, as well as what we want to know within our digital asset space, is because we saw a complete overreach by the Senate by cramming crypto legislation into an infrastructure bill that had no relevance or standing or holding or whatever over cryptocurrency. They crammed it in there. Now, what we're also seeing, and this is why it's so critical that we get full regulation or full clarity of regulation. We need the rules of the road. Ripple, Coinbase, Celsius, all of them have come to the SEC as they built out their projects because they're required. And they said, we want clarity. Gary Gensler came in and came to Congress and said, I want more power for the SEC from the SEC. I want more power for the SEC from Congress in order to take care of these cryptocurrencies. So in essence, Senator Kennedy was right, because Gary Gensler wants to be the daddy to dictate his beliefs onto all others. But his beliefs are based and shrouded around his ideology, to where he wants to bring in all sorts of emotional nonsense into the financial space. So, you look around, it gets crazy, right? So then you have Gary running around, and this is all you hear. This is what's trapped in my brain.
And you will respect my authority.
And that's it, right? I mean, it gets outlandish. Gensler is not working for Ripple. That's for sure. Not when he comes out. Maybe they'll hire him later. I don't know. After all this, Chip, at the end of his term, all of a sudden we'll see him working for Ripple. Who knows? Crazier things have happened, right? Chip, Ripple will win the case on fair notice. ETH did a fundraise and they're still building their network. XRP is no different. The SEC will never be able to outmaneuver that fact. Jim D, I think Ripple may be gaming SEC incompetence as a critical business strategy to jack their escrow value on a win price spike and get new fave case law. Is Gensler really working for Ripple? Oh, I was reading it backwards. That's funny. Tom T, appreciate you being here with us. Ripple are not a charity for the industry. They would do what's best for them. A favorable settlement clears Ripple, not the industry. Job done. Win by judgment opens the door for everyone. Yeah, that's true. A win by judgment does open the door for everyone. And the XRP or Ripple is fighting for themselves because they are their own stand-up company. So you got to worry about themselves. Now, so as we start looking around and we're saying, hey, what's going on? What in the world? What types of things are happening around us? IRS, Janet Yellen from the Treasury Secretary, press lawmakers to push tax compliance agenda, banks to report deposits and withdrawals of $600. $600. That is almost every deposit. How many times have you gone out? I'm going to take out $599. I want to deposit in $599 increments. We're going to come after companies with 100 employees or more. This is an overreach of the government against private institutions and individuals. A complete overreach. I expect this from the Soviet Union. I expect this from communist China. I expect this from a Marxist regime. I see this happening to an extent in Venezuela. I expect this in Cuba. I don't expect this kind of overreach in the US. God forbid we have a digital dollar. This will happen instantly. Now, not only that, but they're trying to push for a raise for the IRS to get another $60 billion in funding so that they can hire more people so they can come after everybody. The Treasury Secretary urged lawmakers to give the IRS permission to report annual inflows and outflows from American bank accounts, regardless of tax liability. Financial institutions across the country will have to report accounts with at least $600 worth of transactions or more. The proposal stems from Treasury's American Families Plan Tax Compliant Agenda. Look how they twist the narrative, they twist the terminology, they twist the verbiage into an emotional perspective. American Families Plan Tax Compliance Agenda. Sounds so, fruity and nice. Yellen IRS push tax compliance agenda on Wednesday. Biden fails to mention agenda in tweets and Facebook. Really? Oh, really? United States president told the public that if a citizen made under 400,000, they won't raise taxes. You know what? Inflation is a mechanism of taxation. The cost of your goods when you go to the grocery store and milk is twice as much and eggs is twice as much and gas is 3 times as much. Guess what? That's a form of taxation. Why? Because now your dollar, regardless if they're bringing in the tax or not bringing in the tax, your dollar that you earn is worth half what it was before. Now they start raising taxes on corporations. It trickles down in the cost of your goods. Who do you think pays the taxes? The retail buyer always pays the taxes, not your sales tax, but your product. The cost of your products go up exponentially as there's a tax raise on business. Don't let them lie to you. Don't let them twist the narrative. Don't let them tell you it's a wealth tax that they need to pay their fair share because the wealthy pay the lion's share of the taxes in the country. Many of the people that they're talking about, it's crazy. So now think about how they're coming after the ebb and flow of every dollar. Think about how they're trying to crush this innovation in the mechanisms of allowing retail investors in cryptocurrency to earn interest on their crypto holdings. You want to earn 5%? Put it on Celsius. You want 10%? Put it on Celsius. You want 5%? Put it on Coinbase. You want 0.1%? Put it in your bank account. The publication's article about the matter also went into the detail about the American Families Plaques tax compliant agenda and explained the House Democrats didn't include a bank account reporting provision in their tax bill. The American Families Plaques tax compliant agenda on the heels of nation states adopting and legalizing cryptocurrency doesn't seem like a coincidence. Really? Really? Not to, of course, Biden does not mention matters in his tweets, nor does he explain how the American Family Plan tax reform can hurt Americans via capital gain tax, the money that you make when you buy and sell cryptocurrency. Biden's Facebook and Twitter posts also fail to mention the annual inflow and outflow monitoring to monitor every dollar that you move over $600. That's not right. That doesn't happen in a free capitalist society, in a representative republic. That's a complete overreach of government to dwell into the movement of your money. in Venezuela for years and years and years in Venezuela. If they wanted to buy products outside as a business in Venezuela and they wanted to buy product out of the US, they had to write a case and petition the government in Venezuela to prove why they needed to transfer their bolivre into US dollars in order to buy product that they were going to buy in the US and sell in Venezuela. Sometimes that process took months. Many times there was some, government peon that worked in the government in Venezuela that would deny the business access to US dollars simply because the overreach. It's insane. It's insane. This is why it's so critical. It's so critical that we understand all aspects of everything that's happening because it's relevant to the growth and development of the cryptocurrency space in the United States today. We went for years without having much, zealous overreach. Now, all of a sudden, in the past 8-9 months, it's been nothing but zealous overreach. A mechanism to raise money for out of control spending. They're looking at the cryptocurrency space. Look at all these millionaires that are being made off of Bitcoin and digital assets. We need to get a piece of that, not just the regular piece that they pay their taxes. We want a bigger piece. We want to stifle it. We want to monitor every movement of every dollar that's seen. Now look at this. This is something I have to leave you guys with. You have to see this. This is so critical. You have to understand this stuff. You really do. I want to say, hey, it's all, peaches and cream. It's great. We want to just talk about the technology. I love the technology. I would love to spend, every single day talking about how we're going to apply blockchain to the voting system around the world. But look at this. House Democrats' plan would close tax loophole used by crypto investors. Okay, is that really, really, really what they're doing? It can be used in stock. They can do this in stock. Day traders. House Democrats proposed a bill that would impose wash sale rules on commodities, currencies, and digital assets. So it's not just on crypto. It's on commodities, it's on currencies and digital assets. The article just focuses on crypto investors, tax loopholes used by crypto investors. Those tax loopholes are built in to the structure of the system. How do you think all those in government are getting wealthy? How do you think all those congressional representatives are making millions and millions of dollars on a salary of $180,000 and they come out multimillionaires? Because they use loopholes. House Democrats, so Bitcoin, Ethereum, Dogecoin, and other crypto. Notice how they single out the ones that are hot in the media. This is on CNBC. Another crypto would be subject to the anti-abuse rules, just like stocks, bonds, and securities. And so now they want to wrap it in like they're securities. But really, they're trying to put these rules on commodities and currencies and digital assets, because right now digital assets can be considered commodity or a currency, but they want to lump it in as though it is a security. They want the rules just like stocks, bonds, and other securities, but they're not securities. They're not like stocks and bonds. It's a complete misunderstanding. This is a bastardization of the terminology and the technology of cryptocurrency. Currently, crypto investors have dual benefit. They can claim a tax loss and quickly buy back the asset they sold to capture any upswing in price. Oh, okay. Day trading. And I'm sure there's obviously some rules and regulations that go along with it. Like you said, the anti-abuse with securities, but all day long you sell. But here they're saying you're selling for a loss. So you can get a tax loss and then you buy back into your asset so you don't lose your loss. Or you get your gain back. I mean, every little thing. The bill would impose wash sale rules on commodities, currencies, and digital assets, according to an outline issued every step of the way. What we're seeing right now isn't hey, how do we make retail? How do we make it safer? How do we make things better? It's how do we get every last dollar we can get out of the retail investors, those that are finally making a change for themselves. Because cryptocurrency and digital assets are reaching out to people at every economic level in the world. Everyone. If you have access to a cell phone and you can get digital assets. People have made their lives better. Are there scams? Is it risky? Is it speculative? Yes. Are stocks risky? Yes. You don't know. You could buy a stock tomorrow and it goes down in value. I bought a stock that went down. It went down by half. Was that speculative? Was that risky? If I sold now my stock, I would lose half the value. I would lose my money. That's a stock. That means Bitcoin, Ethereum, Dogecoin, and others would be subject to anti-abuse rules, which apply to stock, bonds, and other securities. We got that, right? Crypto investors reap two benefits. They can sell crypto for a loss and claim a tax benefit. That loss can reduce or eliminate capital gains on winning. They can then quickly buy it back. But it's not just crypto. They said it's currency and commodities because digital assets aren't stock. They're not securities. Now, right here, they hit it right out of the park in this article. This measure is among a series of tax reform Democrats are considering to raise money for climate investment and a significant expansion of the U.S. social safety net, the Marxist ideology expected to cost up to $3.5 trillion. That's where they want to get the money. That's how they're doing it. That's how they're going to raise it. They're coming after your gains, your crypto gains. You make the decision. That's it. It's simple. It's black and white at this point. They want your crypto gains. Appreciate you, Mr. B. Appreciate everybody being here. You guys are amazing. If you haven't done so already, just want you to go over there, hit that subscribe button, hit the bell notifier, give it a thumbs up. We do stream 6 days a week, Sunday through Thursday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And obviously, right here, every Saturday morning at 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, we get to dissect and have fun with all these topics, really dig into it. I'll look forward to seeing everybody back on here with us tomorrow night on Sunday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Chip and I, right here, exclusively. You guys know where, right? Exclusively on the chain. See you on the next one.
Are you down with OTC? Please like, subscribe, and click the bell to be notified when the next video drops.